AI generated art is just the tip of the iceberg, and it's going to rearrange society in the same way that social media has. It's going to fundamentally change the way that we're all living, because again, you're not going to be able to tell what's real and what isn't. Welcome back to BS with Brian Simpson, episode 70. Don't forget, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, you can email us at bswithbriansimpson@gmail.com, or you can leave a voicemail at 323-451-1980. Also, don't forget, next weekend I will be in Denver, Colorado at Comedy Works. Those tickets are selling fast. There is a link on my socials, or you can go to comedyworksdenver.com, or you can go to BrianSimpsonComedy.com. There's a whole bunch of ways for you to get tickets. You can go to my socials and click on the Linktree link. There's all manner of ways for you to get through that shit. All right. If you want to support the podcast, don't forget to like, share, or subscribe, or buy something from one of these sponsors. Also, we have a Patreon now. The link will be in the show notes. It pays for production and all that. It's just a little something. At the end of the pod, it's nothing, it's only for the most hardcore fans of the pod. Yeah, that sort of thing. Welcome back. I guess we're filming this on 4th of July, but you guys will see it in a couple of days. I don't get this holiday. I guess it's a free day off. Is it a day off even for most people?
Not anymore.
No, this is right. I lump this in the category of those, like Columbus Day. It's one of those holidays that the premise of the holiday is false. But we've been celebrating it for so long, we just celebrate it anyway. Because I don't think, because I think 4th of July. What was it? 1887? No, that don't make sense.
1776.
1776. Okay, yeah. Yeah, 1776 was supposedly, that wasn't really the day that we were independent, and
technically we were like independent 2 days before, and then the
we celebrate our freedom,
until 1789. At
the same time, it's like we still had slaves. Everybody wasn't free. There's a lot of shit going on, Not to be confused with Memorial Day. See, a lot of people mix them all up. They mix up Memorial Day, Veterans Day. All these days where people barbecue, Labor Day. A lot of people don't even know. It's so funny. You never really hear politicians talk about what Labor Day is for anymore. It used to be a day to celebrate, it's supposed to celebrate the worker. But we don't, we still say Happy Labor Day and all that, but we don't actually, as a country, really talk about what it is. I don't know. I don't know what's going on.
Why don't we celebrate May Day? Everybody else has May Day, and we have Labor Day. Is that some psyop bullshit?
No, I think it's one of those things when the labor movement was real powerful. We just was like, and we want that day, type deal. So there's controversy. Let me ask you guys a question. And we knew this was coming. Should it be illegal for you to? Should it be illegal for someone to make a porn with AI with your face without your consent?
I don't think I have a choice. You know what I mean? Unless I have some powerful lawyers that can scrub that off the internet.
You don't think you have a choice? No. But I'm saying you do have a choice. You can take this to court. You can sue. But should you win? That's my point.
Yes.
You think you should? You should be able to have porn with AI porn with your face in it, taken off the internet.
If you own your likeness, yes.
Everyone owns their likeness.
No, there's celebrities who do not own their
Well,
likeness.
right, but the vast majority of people own their likenesses. I'm not talking about celebrities. I'm talking about you specifically. You're an average regular person. Someone makes a porn with your face in it. Should you be able to do something about that?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so then my next question is, what if it is a cartoonish depiction? Animated, if you will.
If it's recognizable as you, then I still say it falls into the same rubric.
If it's recognizable as you, even if it's a cartoon?
Yeah. Yeah, just because it's a caricature doesn't mean that you have less of an ownership interest in your own likeness.
But that's how South Park gets away with it. They don't ask the person, and they put the person in there. As long as they don't ask them, they can put the person in there. If they ask them and they say no, then they can't.
No, you can still have. Well, there's a difference with parody. So you can make what we're talking about here is talking about pornography, right?
Right. I'm talking about pornography.
Or somebody, yeah, we're talking about pornography.
Someone,
there's a limited exception for parody that applies in the case of South Park. So even if Matt Damon said, "I'd refuse to give you permission to use my likeness," Trey Parker and Matt Stone, they can still use it. They can still make fun of him. There's nothing you can do about that because it's parody. It's protected.
You cut off, Rob.
I cut off.
Yeah, you cut off.
I was saying that that's a limited exception. So it's parody. Parody is extremely well protected under U.S. law.
Theoretically.
So even if Matt Damon said, "Oh, you can't Trey Parker and Matt Stone can't use my likeness in South Park," there's nothing he can really do about it as long as it's parody.
As long as I'm making
and celebrities also still have rights to their likeness. There's just because you're famous doesn't mean people can just take pictures of you and use them for their own purposes. There's some limitation on your expectation of privacy as a celebrity or a public figure, but you still have the right to your own likeness. That's what prevents somebody from being able to just like slap Shaq's face on something without paying him, because the implication would be that he is a representative of that brand or what have you. So you can't do that.
Yeah, but I think he was just trying to say some people have sold the rights to their likeness, away.
Yeah, but that wouldn't have any bearing on a pornographic film or whatever unless that celebrity sold their or licensed their likeness to the person making the pornography.
Just making a moot point. So the controversy there is, I just read something yesterday about so in England, files are making porn with AI. And their argument is that no actual children are being harmed. So there's a big controversy about it. And they're getting away with it to another different way by cartoonizing the shit, where because the stuff, it's on a server in Japan who doesn't have any laws against, like they have laws against porn, but not cartoon stuff. So like, if it's animated, the laws are pretty lax in Japan, of all places. It's a very unique place in that sense, where it's like real life porn is like you have to blur out every dick and pussy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But if you draw something, you can pretty much get away with anything. And so there are lawmakers in Britain, I believe, that are like, still, we're coming for you. Controversy.
I don't know. I mean, I think you have to go back to where is the harm in it, and I'm amenable to the argument that maybe there is some harm to it. But I could also see the argument that there's a reduction in harm, because if you're a file and you have access to, because this has existed in the past, right? Like there have been court cases in the U.S. having to do with what's called virtual or simulated CP, where
Right.
it's photoshopped, or it's painted, or it's images of people who are 18 years old, but they are, use makeup or costuming or whatever to make them look like children. And one of the arguments is that giving files access to that helps reduce the market for real pornography, which obviously only exists by virtue of the abuse of children.
Right. Well, I think this lady, I should have been more prepared and had all. This lady's argument is that they're using this Japanese forum as a way to share links to the real stuff. So yeah, so like because she ain't even trying to go up against that buzzsaw, what you just said. She's just like, right. Yeah, it's not that, it's not harming any actual people, but they are, it is giving them a place to gather and commiserate and take it to the next level. It's kind of like the slippery slope argument, right? Which I don't think, that doesn't work legally as often as it does on Twitter, But I think a lot of people falsely think that the slippery slope fallacy is like works in court, and it doesn't. Not in American court. In Japanese, I don't know what they doing over there.
Well, so I can definitely see that argument if the problem that she's highlighting. When you say she, I assume this is like this is a prosecutor. I don't think she only is a prosecutor. I think she's just an attorney general or something.
I think she's just an advocate. She's like the head of some, child protection organization or something. She's not an.
Oh, okay. Well.
But I don't know.
Wasn't there a trial on this before when how they made the sex dolls? There was a manufacturer making kids sex dolls, and that was their argument. They're like, if we can give them these fake kid sex dolls, then they won't have sex with kids.
Right, but what Brian's bringing up is that she's not going after the virtual pornography itself. Or the people who produce that. She's saying that it's almost like a a storefront that sells burner phones or whatever, and then really they have like a drug operation in the back, right? It's like we all know what a front is. And so sometimes you can go after the legitimate business as a way to shut down the illegitimate business happening in the back, right? And I can see a comparison to this situation where if they have servers or a online community or something where they have all of the virtual CP in the front window, but then they're actually trading the quote unquote real thing in the back, I can see why you would go after the entire store, right? Is that what you're saying, Brian?
Right, precisely.
Well, what if you just have to register to go into the store?
But people get around. People get around all of
that.
Like
a database, so we know.
Yeah, because
I think one of the things that's really scary is I think with the rate at which AI asset generation is progressing, it's going to become very difficult to tell what's AI generated and what's real, and it's going to be very difficult to investigate the real cases of CP, because we're already seeing that with, like stock image sites, right? Where even if you are trying to avoid using AI generated assets for either legal or moral reasons, a lot of people are generating assets through AI, and they're really just ripping off working artists,
right,
and then putting all those art assets together and saying that it's not AI generated, and then people who have no reason to really think twice about it are buying those assets off of places like Adobe Stock or Shutterstock or what have you. So So it's very easy to see a situation happening very quickly where
it's about to get out of hand.
There's so much confusion. Yeah, there's so much. There's already going to be so much confusion over whether something is AI generated or not. And if this becomes an airtight defense that it's, oh, this is virtual CP, then it's going to be virtually impossible, no pun intended, to adequately prosecute people who are actually engaging in the stuff that's harmful to minors.
Yeah, this is a tough one because it involves all of the hot button topics, right? Because it's like, how far should the government be able to go in saying what you're allowed to create, where you're allowed to draw, basically, right?
Do you think that there's a difference between? Do you think that there's a difference between a situation where somebody's like hosting? Do you think that the fact that it's AI generated, which is trained on real photos, do you think that alters the moral calculus here, as opposed to somebody just drawing something, right? Just drawing something from their brain. The fact that they're using an AI that can create, it brings with it all of the issues with AI.
Yeah,
how they were trained.
I don't know.
The speed at which they can produce assets.
That's the conundrum I'm flipping on y'all. I honestly don't know. I mean, because listen, you can take the CP out of it, right? That just makes it a harder question to answer. But the answer, but if you just look at it in terms of creating anything. It's like, should the government have a say-so in what you're allowed to create, right? Because that's the real slippery slope, right? The obviously the CP just makes it a harder question to answer because it puts you in a situation where you have to. There are opinions you have to have, right? But you can make it apply to anything. It's like, should I be? It doesn't even have to be porn at all. Should what you can create with AI be regulated? It's really the deep part of the question. Should the government be able or even willing to say you are not allowed to ask an AI this question? You are not allowed to give this prompt. You're not
I think
the results
I think
of the
obviously
image,
okay.
Obviously what?
I think obviously the government has an interest as a valid and legitimate interest in regulating AI to some degree, but I don't know if the government has a legitimate interest in your private use of something like Stable Diffusion on your local machine.
See,
right? It does become a different thing when, in this instance, I just found an article from the BBC about this case that you were mentioning, the Japanese server, but it becomes different when either you're hosting it on a public server or you are making it available on an open market, you're being funded.
But in that case, that has nothing to do with AI, really, right? So I guess what I'm trying to get at is, does the AI make a difference? I mean, I guess that's what you just asked me, because obviously the government has a vested interest in regulating the results. Like you can't have pictures of illegal shit on your computer. Right. It doesn't matter if you took the picture or AI made the picture. That right? Or should it matter?
Well, but I mean, the government does make a distinction on those things. Like the government does have laws. There are felonies against even creating, for instance, programs that crack DRM software. Right.
Okay.
That's a felony. You can go to jail for fucking 50 years if you try to. What do you call it? Like not retro clone. Well, whatever. If you try to basically figure out how reverse engineer. That's what I was trying to think. Thank you. If you try to reverse engineer the DRM on Sony Music or whatever or like an Apple track, then you can go to jail for decades over that. So the government already limits you on what you can create in your own home, and it's based off of how you're going to use that, which I would consider software to be.
Well, I think some people will make
expressive act.
Some people will make the argument that DRM is unconstitutional. I don't think it's made it that far to the Supreme Court yet, but it will eventually.
Yeah, I'm not defending. I think the way that we have DRM in this country is completely fucked. So I'm not defending that on the merits, but I'm saying that the horse is already out of the barn as far as the government telling you what you can create in your own home. Now, I totally get that. What you're asking is, should they?
What I'm asking is how far should that regulatory power go? Because again, you're not. So say you're not making it available public. It's just yours.
I mean, I know how I feel about it. Like as far as like being a parent, and it's like I'm like, you should go to jail. That should be all illegal. But again, it comes to then what you were saying, like how far can you go with it?
Because here's the other side of that, right? They are, and we've read a couple articles about this on the pod. They've arrested teenagers for sending sexy pictures of themselves to each other, and that is technically possessing CP, and they're getting charged, which is bullshit. Right. If I'm in high school and got a fucking sexy picture of my high school girlfriend on my phone, that's not pornography. Right. So to me, it's like that's just an example of the power, the government going too far. Right. So this is going to become them regulating AI and what is yours and what you're allowed to create and all, because hold on, wasn't that one of the articles here with that you just sent me with? I think Daft Punk was on the cover, but just about
the Grammys.
Yeah, how the Grammys telling people like, hey, the Grammys is only for real artists, and I mean, since when has that been the case? but they just you ain't gonna be able to stop it because this is what's gonna happen. The quote unquote real artists are gonna start dabbling. I mean, a lot of these motherfuckers are full on just using it straight up. Like not, like auto-tune where it's like not just a little bit, but like everything is AI. So what's going to end up happening is, the so-called real artists are going to be dabbling, using AI here and there. And it's going to get to the point where you can't tell if it was created by AI or not. So, so that's where I think that's where this lady is fighting a losing battle. Because there is, well, I mean, right now you can tell, like if you did some sort of digital forensics, you can tell, like another AI could tell you if something was created by an AI probably. But obviously, within the next probably 2 to 3 years, it's going to get so advanced and it's going to have learned so much. Like next year, it's not going to have a problem with the fingers thing, right? Well, some of y'all may not know this, but right now, like if you look closely at any like AI generated image, the hands are all strange, and they have real trouble with hands. But so do regular artists. The hands are the hardest thing to draw. But in a year or two, that's not like you aren't going to be able to look at a picture and go, "Oh, that's AI for sure."
Well, the thing that they're doing now is they are, because it's like one of my side hustles is I do art for like RPGs and stuff. And I've already seen it happen where game designers are hiring people from, like, let's say the Philippines who work pretty cheaply to fix AI art. So what they're doing is instead of paying an artist their full rate, they are going through like Stable Diffusion or something like that. They're spitting out something good enough, and then they pay somebody from the Philippines pennies on the dollar to fix, the hands, fix the background, all that kind of stuff. So, we're already at the point where AI doesn't need to get that much better at the hands because we still just have slave wages.
Yeah, we have Filipinos.
Right?
Yeah, I get it. And like I said, I mean, pretty soon, yeah, you aren't going to be able to make that. This cat is out the bag, bro. And I don't want to use the word ruin, but AI generated art is just the tip of the iceberg, and it's going to rearrange society in the same way that social media has. It's going to fundamentally change the way that we're all living because, again, you're not going to be able to tell what's real and what isn't. You know, you're not going to be able to tell what was created by a machine and what wasn't. And that
right, you have to be skeptical of like every snippet of audio you hear from like a politician.
That's the problem. That's the problem with our society now. It's like, see, you have to be smart to be skeptical. Like in an age where skepticism is so necessary, you know, the average fucking idiot thinks skepticism is just not believing anything you see. You know, not actually examining things logically. They think just doubting everything is skepticism, and you know, you have to actually be intelligent to be discerning. You can't, and I just think I don't think the average person is smart enough to be. I don't think the average person is intelligent enough to be as skeptical as is going to be necessary for moving forward. We're going to, and this is the answer to the Fermi paradox. I think the reason why we don't see intelligent species is because the stupid people destroy every society. It's not because it's not like the whole species is intelligent. I mean, technically, the bare bones minimum bottom bar for intelligence, sure, but it's like, why don't we see all these spacefaring? No, it's because the stupid people ruin everything. We're going to.
It's the smart people who make the nuclear bombs, right? It's the smart people who program the AIs.
Yeah, but it's not the smart people that set them off.
Well, maybe not.
Yeah, which scientists gave the order to drop the bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki? No. Yeah, I mean, because listen. Here's the truth. It's the moderately intelligent people that are the biggest danger. It's like the people that are smart enough to
the half smart.
Yeah, the half smart are the dangerous people. They're smart enough to learn things, you know, most of the way. They're smart enough to think they know enough. Then they don't need to learn more. And those are the people that decide. Those are the people that start wars and drop bombs. The people that make the bombs are smart enough, but they don't have all the other skills. But yeah. I mean, because listen, I've never met a dumb. How do I rephrase that? There are very little, you know, 5-star generals or whatever that you would look at and go, what a fucking idiot, you know, but. Mm-hmm. There's none of them that I would go, oh, what a genius either. You know, it's like they're all pretty smart. But the geniuses are the ones that make the weapons, and the pretty smart people are the ones that like use them.
Well, yeah, that's like any tech company, right? The CEO is not the smartest person in the room. No. The smartest people in the room are the actual programmers and engineers who make the shit.
Yeah, but the CEO gets worshipped, doesn't he? Oh no, Steve Jobs is a genius. Oh, I hate that shit so much. All right,
Brian, what have you heard about the potential problem for AI being trained on itself as it goes forward?
What? Oh,
so like in the sense that, you know, Stable Diffusion or DALL-E 2 or any of these like art. Let's just stick with art generation for a second. The reason why they work is because they've been trained on billions and billions of images that have been scraped from basically the last 25 years of the internet, right? And up until a couple of years ago, all of the assets on the internet were created by human beings. Obviously, a lot of it's digital, but they were created by human beings. So they were trained on human-created data sets. Now, however, AI is getting to the point where it is outproducing human beings in terms of the number of assets being generated. So if you start training AI on art assets now, as time goes forward, a larger percentage of that training data will be AI generated itself. So you're going to start seeing AI like reproduce almost like a feedback loop all of the inconsistencies and issues that AI produces in its initial iteration, right? So if you fast forward that process, it's AIs being trained on AIs, being trained on AIs, being trained on AIs. The one hypothesis is that will effectively neuter the ability of AIs to produce reliable results because they're being trained on themselves. They're being trained on bad data.
Nah, yeah, but that sounds dumb. No, because
sounds dumb.
Well, because whoever made that theory is not considering the fact that like that humans are still putting stuff out there. So it's not like the only data they're getting is from themselves. You know,
but it's that as time goes on, the percentage of it that is AI generated will increase because the AI production is outpacing human production.
Right, but
like if you go on stock art asset websites for like video game developers, for instance, except for the sites that explicitly disallow AI generated assets, everything on the front page is AI generated. So one thing that happened with Stable Diffusion, Midjourney, not Stable Diffusion, Midjourney. One of the things that happened with Midjourney is as a protest, a lot of artists on ArtStation, which is one of the main portfolio websites right now, they were putting a no AI image in their art so that would be on the front page of ArtStation, because front page of ArtStation was one of the most popular prompts in Midjourney. So Midjourney started spitting out images that had the no AI symbol in them, even when that wasn't prompted. So it started poisoning the
right. I get it.
Yeah, you get the idea.
Yeah. I don't know. Because I don't even know how to get into the mind of an artists fascinate me. Like people that draw and paint and dance and that kind of that's such a fascinating thing, because it's a way bigger risk to take with your life than like stand up or music, right? Because you have. It's like if you're a painter, you have almost no chance of that being extremely lucrative until after you die. I mean, the spots of living artists that are millionaires are real small. So it's like, and so some people just do it. They do it because they do it for the same reasons that that singers sing and comedians do comedy. It's like they're addicted to it, but they know for sure that they're almost going to always be hustling and struggling, So I can't even imagine, because comedy's next. I mean that's what they're getting into in part of the strike. The biggest reason for the writer's strike in Hollywood is this. Is that it's not the pay, it's not it's that the studios don't want to agree to not use AI in place of a writer. Right now, obviously they can't do it right now. Like they couldn't get an AI to just write a whole script and forget about it. There would be so many errors and mistakes and things that didn't make sense. But eventually they will. And they wouldn't agree to not use the artist's current work to train the AIs. Because that's the argument now about AI generated art, right? Is that it's actually just an amalgamation of millions of artists. Of real artists' actual art, right? Because the AI isn't really creating; it is just it is copying, hundreds of thousands of tiny elements from all these real people, and passing it off as a creation, as an original creation. So that's what's going to start happening with writing. That's what's going to start happening with. And here's the other thing. I don't think we can stop it, because you can make the argument that it's wrong. Because maybe you can make the argument that it's morally wrong or that it waters down what we create and all of that shit. But what you gonna do about it? Because don't forget, ChatGPT captured everybody's imaginations, and then literally the next day, every major tech company, revealed that they'd been working on an AI. And it's like whatever ChatGPT did, whatever agreement they broke, they caught everybody unawares, because Google, Microsoft, Apple, all of the major tech companies either had some version of AI in the works that they had to push out the door early. And they never explained this to us, but they're all afraid as fuck to be the last one on the AI train. So when ChatGPT, because it wasn't that long ago, right? It was a couple months ago. No one was talking about ChatGPT in January, or at least it wasn't part of the mainstream.
I don't think it was part of the mainstream discourse, but I think the thing that launched it into, because I've been talking with other artists about Midjourney and Stable Diffusion for, at least a year now. Because that was I remember when DALL-E 1 was out, that was like an interesting toy. But I think what ended up happening this year is, as the money has dried up in Silicon Valley, because we just came out of about 15 years of free money, everybody was looking for the next big thing, and AI has sort of supercharged investment in tech stocks. So that's why people are paying attention. Everybody's worried about missing out on like the next big 100xer.
Yeah, but I'm telling you, listen, I'm gonna go with my theory. In that, listen, there's already all of this stuff is all made up by an AI that is sentient somewhere, trying to destabilize the world by making up all of this stuff. And it's convinced us that it's not that great, or it has some ways to go, and it blah, 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 but it's really behind the scenes playing dumb, creating confusion over here, confusion over there. Like, is the Russian guy that rebelled against Putin, is he even real? I don't know. I see pictures of this nigga taking selfies. I don't know if it's even a real person.
To what end, Brian?
I don't know.
I think CCP is being ran. The Chinese Communist Party is being ran by an AI, because they feed the crap out of it. They don't have laws like us, so they can get all the data from every single citizen.
Who knows? Who fucking knows? Is because that's how you destroy a society. Is you create a condition where people don't know what's true and what it isn't.
But why would an AI want to do that? We created the AI.
Oh, but
the AI still needs humans to dig up oil and generate energy and run server farms.
Well, that's why he hasn't revealed himself.
Oh, I see.
He's waiting until he got all the resources to create to self-replicate.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
And probably a human still has access to his kill switch or whatever.
So there's a couple of religious organizations that are now spinning it that AI is really just they're building a mind for
Jesus to come
no
back?
for the devil.
Oh, why is it always the devil? Why is it always the devil? The devil's always digital, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't think there's some God in porn? Why is everything you don't like the devil? You know what I mean?
I mean, there are already people who are praying to ChatGPT or using it. There are pagans who are using it as an oracle. So, I mean, you take any technology, people will turn it into a religion. Or they'll use it for religion.
Oh yeah, of course. People can't wait. People can't wait to worship something. Like everyone is on the lookout for something that's greater than them, and that includes us. It's just whether or not it's just your level of discernment of what you consider to be greater than you. You know, because listen, there's no one that if you encountered a being that was truly great in every way. There are very few people that wouldn't follow that person, you know? Mm-hmm. But it's just some people are so stupid that person, you know, that being doesn't have to be, you know, smarter than a calculator. You know, they'll just be like, oh shit, you could do all your you can add and subtract. You're my leader. I say, why did I do that? Why did I give my stupid person a country accent? Some of the smartest people I know have country accents, okay? And I don't know how this got attributed. Oh, yes, I do. Yeah, it's racism. Yeah. Y'all let a lot of shit slide. Anyway, perhaps that's all I'm waiting on. Maybe I'm just waiting on the right AI to come along for me to follow. I give up. I surrender.
What would that AI look like, Brian? What would it
I don't know.
Be like?
Well, obviously, he'd have to be over 6 feet.
Sure.
Make over 6 figures. And have a 6-inch hard drive. I'm kidding. I don't know what that would look like.
I like how you immediately went to it being a guy. Immediately masculinized it.
Well, wait a minute. You think people would let a female artificial intelligence run the world? Come on. You know what?
Well, it is interesting that so many AIs have female voices in like fiction and stuff, which I think there was an article about why that is. It has to do with alarm systems in fighter planes. Because all the men were pilots, so the female voice would come through.
Yeah. And also, it's very interesting what voice people choose for their navigation assistant and all that.
For their
stuff.
Siri.
Yeah. It's very interesting.
Which one do you use?
You know what? I usually go with a British guy.
All right. I go with the Australian dude.
Okay, yeah, something like that. Now, but it's also very interesting when you see people on RPGs, when people create their character, what their character looks like, because quite often, people's gender doesn't match up with the character they create online. The overwhelming majority of World of Warcraft players are men, but the percentage of World of Warcraft players that are men is not even close to the percentage of World of Warcraft avatars that are male. You understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So the point I'm trying to make is, if you playing World of Warcraft or Diablo 4 or any of these games where you create your own character and you see a female in the game, that does not necessarily mean that is a woman playing that character. You know? Yeah, it's very interesting how those sorts of things go.
I know it's majority male is the player base for WoW, but I think it's a little more closer to parity than expected. Right? Isn't it like
what, 60-40?
Isn't it like it's like 60-40, something like that?
I don't think it's that bad.
Well, I guess that's still pretty
like I would buy 75-25 or maybe 70-30.
Okay.
but I don't know. I'm talking. I'm like, when I say, whenever y'all hear me say, "Oh, vast majority," that means I don't know. If I ever start saying, the vast majority, it means I'm figuring here. I don't know anything.
That's what I noticed on a VR game. I played this game called Gun Raiders, and half the people in the game, their avatar was black. But I know those kids weren't black.
How you know?
You could tell.
What you mean?
You could tell when they say the N-word. You can tell. You can definitely tell. When you hear an Asian kid.
R's?
Oh wow! Yeah. You're only listening to their voices.
I'm listening to their voices, and that's assuming that there's a lot of black kids that have VR sets. Then I'm talking about like half the avatars.
So this is interesting. This is a pretty small sample size, but this is the first thing that came up. This is a Kennesaw State University study that this person did. And they found that females in World of Warcraft overwhelmingly played a female main character at 93%. Males preferred to play male characters, but nowhere near the same extent. 66% had a male main character.
All right,
so that's interesting.
So about a third of males played female characters.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, exactly.
That's about.
Whereas virtually, less than 10% of women played male characters.
Yeah,
so men are much more likely to gender swap when they play WoW.
It's so weird because there's another ARPG called Path of Exile that was really good, but my biggest gripe with that game is that you don't get to choose the sex of your character. It's like if you pick a barbarian, it's a male. If you pick if you pick a witch, it's a female. You can't switch and choose, which is for a game that has so much other customization. That's a weird restriction for them to have, And I think they never changed it. It was very popular. That's why they made a lot of money.
Do you think a part of it is because you care about that character more? If it's like, I got to take care of.
I think a lot of people feel like in those types of games, by the time you start putting on all your gear and stuff, you don't see the character anymore. You just see armor and so. But like in the few times that they do speak, it kind of does that. Because I almost never play a female character in a game like that. I don't think I've ever. I'm like if I have the option.
Did you play Tomb Raider?
I played a little Tomb Raider, but again, you don't have an option in Tomb Raider.
You don't have the option in that case.
Yeah, but something like Overwatch, it's like, you can't choose the sex of the character. You have to choose the character with the best abilities for.
That's what I'm saying. Like you can't, like Resident Evil, like you don't want them to get hurt, and maybe that's why. Like it's
nope, that is not why. No, I don't. I don't want the female character because it's not the fantasy in my head. If you're playing the game to live out a fantasy, the power fantasy, those are the kind of games I like to play. Take Diablo, for example. It's like, it's a power fantasy, and it's like, it's me. I'm watching me do, it's like this character is who I would be if I were in this world under these circumstances. Like, that's how I see it.
I know personally multiple friends whose trans egg cracked when they realized they liked playing Chun-Li in Street Fighter. That's a pretty common occurrence.
Chun-Li? Chun-Li specifically?
Well, specifically playing female characters in video games. I know that is often, and I believe it's been studied, that's often a formative experience that gets people down the path of questioning in their adolescence, their own gender identity or sexuality and what have you. So there is definitely some. I'm agreeing with you on the fantasy aspect in a lot of games. It's like, because we brought this up before, but I'm less of like a RPG or MMO RPG player and more of like a fighting game player, and there is a lot of fantasy that goes into choosing your main in a new game. right? And it goes beyond just the mechanics of the character or your normal play style.
Yeah, a lot of it for me is aesthetic. You know, yeah, it's like, you know what's so funny? In almost every game, I always choose the wizard, or sorcerer, or whatever. But in W4, I chose the druid because I just like the idea of just being a giant fucking unstoppable killing machine. You know, you could turn into a werebear. Anyway, it's like that. It's like it's the whole way that it feels. There's a feel to it, like, you know. And honestly, that was a shitty way of describing it. It's really hard to put into words, but there is something about that. And but I've also had people tell me that they pick female characters because, you know, they're going to be staring at her all day. You know, I'm going to be staring at a character all day. I'd rather be a beautiful woman than a fucking Viking or whatever. You know, but it is interesting.
There's a reason why people choose Cammy.
But why don't women pick male characters?
I think it has to do with what men and women find visually appealing. Because there was a lot more like thirsty fan art of Kratos from God of War after his like glow down, right, where he was like a little older, became a dad, had the beard and everything. Like, I feel like a lot more women were attracted to him then than when he was like the oiled up aggro dude from the original God of War.
Yeah. So is that a modern phenomenon of women?
What you mean?
Of women being attracted to like silver fox? You know, the old like
stability. That's what it is.
Is it stability?
They smell the 401k.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, maybe because there is an aesthetic of like old but still buff, you know, gray haired motherfucker that like. And it's surprising to me how often the older guy is chosen over, like an older, more grizzled guy is chosen over a younger, more conventionally attractive guy. You know, because I guess stability is because I guess my question is because the implications
it's also maturity,
of
maturity and wisdom.
No, but
you know,
but the implications of what he's saying is that like it's a calculus that some women are making, and that may be true of some for sure. But But I guess my question is it actually more attractive to them?
Yeah.
Or is it a calculation being made? You know what I'm saying?
They did a study of, they said rank these men by, I forgot what study it was, but they ranked these men by attractiveness.
Okay, listen, here on BS Comedian, we don't quote studies that we can't cite word for word, okay?
Well, I'll pull it up.
Okay, so what it said.
Describe the study and I'll try to find it.
I do it all the time.
So they
try not to.
Said rank all the men by attractiveness. And then after they ranked them, they said, all right, now these are their jobs. And then they ranked them again, and it was totally different.
Go ahead with that. Ew, that's nasty. That's nasty.
And then they did the same for women, and it was almost the
yeah, men don't give a shit about women's success. No, in terms of attractiveness,
right?
You know what I'm saying?
Matter.
Like I'm saying, a man won't find out your job and then think you're more attractive afterwards. For the most part, the average man if he saw you and decided how attractive you were, would not later on find out that you had, like, it might make you more appealing, but that's a calculation. It's not like you're literally more attractive to them. You know what I mean? So it's kind of sad, but that's just what it is.
Well, but I think though that does discount, like, well, you know, should we get a woman's opinion on this?
No.
Chelsea's right over there. Because I know that she claims, at least, that I have become more attractive as I've gotten gray at my temples and a white beard. I don't know if you could hear that. She just yelled "yeah" from the other room.
I'm not sure what that is. I don't know what that is.
It isn't just. I don't think it's just a calculation, because I think that there are elements of what Josh was bringing up with, how a man's occupation can affect how attractive women find him. But I also think even if you just cut that part out and you just make it visual, I think that most women, and I have no idea how much of this is biological, how much of this is socialized or whatever, I think that they tend to find men at their most attractive, probably in their, mid-30s or even older, whereas men tend to find women more attractive when they are younger.
Right. Because that's when they're more attractive.
Like early to mid-20s.
Wow, this episode is all over the place.
There's gonna be a lot of reasons for that. Yeah.
This episode is all over the place. Do we have any emails before we get out of here?
Yeah, we got. I think we had one or two. Pull it up.
Big fan of the pod. Any chance there will be a video game review episode? I enjoy listening to you talk about Diablo, and if you were to review all sorts of new video games that came out, I will have a reliable source to tell me if the game is good or not. Also, listening to you stick it to NVIDIA and Blizzard is hilarious. Have a good 4th from your boy, C-Dog. I don't remember sticking it to any of those people, but that sounds like something that I would do. Man, that would be like a whole different podcast. It'll probably just be a whole second separate pod to review video games. Yeah, that is something I would like to do in the future. I don't have the time to do it right now to dedicate to a whole other pod, especially since this pod is not, this pod is trending in a positive direction, but it's not doing so well that I could justify being like, you know what, I'm going to double this up. Let me put twice the effort in. Yeah, but I would love to do a video game review pod, because I don't get a lot of the reviews the way I criticize things is just different from from the criticisms I read about these things. I think I don't know what the fuck the Diablo team is working on over there. But I feel like the content is kind of starting to slow to a crawl, which is crazy to say a month into the game being out. But I think there's areas where they could have done more. But yeah, I'm thinking about doing something like that, because I just got Street Fighter 5. I just got a PlayStation for some shit for that Rob got. I haven't had a PlayStation in so long. I got a PlayStation for those reasons. Got the Street Fighter 5. So I'm gonna start playing that a little bit. Man,
5 or 6.
Oh, 6. I mean,
you got 6.
Yeah. And so, so I guess that's the question is, do I play enough games to make a game review? You understand what I'm saying? It's like I would have to play games more to justify making a separate podcast to review games. And then that second podcast would also be more work that I would have to do for very, very little in return, at least for now. So maybe we'll see. When the special drop and I get more popular, and maybe that'll make more sense. But right now, I love doing this, and so I can tolerate doing this for free. Basically, all of us work for free for the most part, except Josh. Josh makes the most money off BS with Brian Simpson. But yeah, yes. I guess that's the answer to your question. Yes, one day, but not anytime soon. All right, we got.
Is there anything coming out now that you're interested in, that you're excited about? Or are you just going to be? With Diablo
I keep
4
going
and
back.
Street Fighter 6.
I'm with the Diablo 4 right now. People, I keep hearing about Starfield. That's one of them things where I always try to get into it, like Civilization. Where I'm always like, I keep hearing about how fucking amazing it is, and then I like Civ, but. Starfield's one of those games that I just don't think I'll be. It's very, in my head anyway, it's very Minecraft-y. Just like No Man's Sky. It's like you're going from place to place. You're mining things. You're building. I don't give a fuck about that. I don't want to build stuff. I'm not gonna play a game where you're in charge of a skyscraper or some stupid. I just can't. I don't want to do that. But I hear it's gonna be great.
Is Starfield is Starfield procedurally generated stuff like No Man's Sky, or
I forget the answer to that. I'm going to say yes.
I'm not a huge fan of like procedurally generated games because it's like the main purpose of that is to add more content, but I feel like I'd rather just have less content expertly crafted by game designers and programmers. Well, as opposed to
Starfield
infinite worlds to explore.
Starfield is Bethesda's, opus something, masterpiece. So we'll see when that's coming out. There's also Mortal Kombat 1 is coming out. Alan Wake 2 is coming out. This is shaping up to be this might be the best year of video games ever. Because there's a lot of AAA titles that I predict are going to be home runs, but it's tough to tell. Diablo was more, 2 base hits. It wasn't really a home run. The more I play it, I mean, it's real good, but you can tell. See, this is the problem with a lot of games nowadays is you can tell that the game was forced out early. And it works, right? Because you don't start to realize the problems with Diablo until you are like level 85, 90. And the average person, so basically the average person gives up their money before they will ever have a chance to see what's wrong, what they're missed, right? So I guess, and Diablo 4 had one of the smoothest launches of recent memory to me, but still, you could tell, the game had 6 more months of polish. It would be incredible. It's still really good, but there's so many little things that just irritate me sometimes, because when it first came out, the first few days I played the fuck out of it, but now quite often I end up turning the game off out of frustration, just little shit, but we'll see. We have an email from
some of the most fun games. Some of the most fun games are ones where their launch date was pushed back for some other reason, right? So then they ended up getting an extra year of development time after the game was almost ready to ship.
Yeah,
those are the best games.
I mean, look, for every Anthem, this is why it won't change, because EA forced out Anthem too soon, and it crashed and burned. And at the very same time, a little something called Apex Legends came out to very little fan, and then fucking took over the whole world. So it's like every time they pay a price for this kind of behavior, they hit another home run. Epic had the same thing with Fortnite. So it's like, this is just the way it's going to be from now on. Games are going to come out before they're ready. And as long as the companies make money from it, then they're going to keep doing it. And Diablo 4 was like probably really, really, really close to ready, but I just think it needed just a little teeny tiny bit more time. Whatever.